Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Destiny Keys. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Indianola, Mississippi, and I'm a 2015 graduate of Delta State University. Today I just want to address the plight in education that I face as a student and that many students still face today in the Mississippi Delta. According to Beacon Hill Institute's 13th Annual State Competitiveness Report, Mississippi ranks 50th overall based on measures of human capital, with low rankings in high school and college attainment, fourth grade math proficiency, skilled labor, employment rates, and health of the population. I grew up in the Mississippi Delta, one of the poorest regions in the United States, whose population is largely African American. I'm a product of the Indianola Public School District, which is located in Sunflower County. Almost 36% of Sunflower County's population lives below the poverty line. The Delta continues to face the adult literacy crisis, child poverty, low-performing schools, underfunding of its schools, and the list goes on. I would describe my educational experience as very subpar. Although I was an honor student and considered academically smart, I was so socially ignorant to a lot of the things that we endured as children and young adults. Even as a child in elementary school, I would often question certain things in my mind, but I never verbally expressed them because, like many other black children and other children of color, we were conditioned to believe that our circumstances and mistreatment were normal. They were inevitable and were supposed to happen to us. We were supposed to be punished severely because we were bad. We were supposed to be perceived as dumb and given curriculum that suits our lack of intelligence. Because we were poor and we were children of color, it was our own fault, our parents' fault, and every adult in our community's fault that we got the dilapidated school buildings, the worn-out textbooks, and the school lunches that were mirror images of the average prison meal. One concept that I deeply regret I had no understanding of early on is the school-to-prison pipeline. Although I was a student who'd never been suspended, expelled, or even sent to the principal's office, that did not make me immune to the criminalization process. As a young black woman, I've been aggressively ordered to line up against the wall, ordered to lie on the floor, frisked, searched, and sniffed by police dogs numerous times. In my 22 years of life, all of those instances happened to me under the age of 17. My first account of this was my first year of middle school. I was only 11 years old and in the 6th grade. These routine searches became the norm and happened at least twice a year all the way through my senior year of high school. I even remember my first grade class taking a field trip to the county jail, and they allowed us to step inside the cells. We were only six years old. Being exposed to such an environment. It didn't matter how good our grades were, how good our attendance was, or how good our behavior was. All of us had to experience this. Mind you, our student body was roughly 98% African American. At the time, I was so desensitized to what was happening to us that I didn't realize the message they were sending to us. They were shaping all of us to become the criminals we were expected to be. Unfortunately, majority of us complied without question or complaint because early on, we've been conditioned to believe that this was the standard. Years later, after attending a lecture about human and civil rights, I learned that our parents could have taken legal action because what they were doing to us was unlawful. Another contributor to the school-to-prison pipeline in the Mississippi Delta is our extremely poor learning environment. When I was in elementary school, the cafeteria had an infestation of crickets for about 2 years straight. Sometimes the teacher and cafeteria workers would make us eat our food anyway because they didn't want us to go throughout the day without having eaten. My high school experience was the worst. I attended Gentry High School, which was built in 1952. There was only one main hallway where the office was located, and the rest of the school consists of separate buildings and walkways. We had no other choice but to walk outside whether it was freezing cold, extremely hot, raining, or storming to get to our next class. The campus would always flood when there was heavy rain. The ceilings would leak. In the summer, the classrooms and the auditorium were extremely hot due to broken air conditioning units. In the winter, the cold was nearly unbearable because many of the classrooms lacked heat. The concrete walkways were caving in. Because the classrooms had large windows that covered the entire back wall, and we lacked hallways, there was no immediate safe space to go in case of a tornado or storm. Our only safe option was to go to the auditorium, which was also a separate building on the other side of campus. My junior year, the school had a gas leakage, so cafeteria workers couldn't prepare cooked food for us. Therefore, we had to eat cold ham sandwiches for an entire month until the issue was resolved. There were always major plumbing issues at Gentry. There were times when we could not use the restrooms or get water from the fountain because the water system had been turned off. There was often a large student-to-teacher ratio. My largest class consisted of about 36 students, and we only had 23 desks. In addition, the most crowded classrooms were those of the subject testing areas. There was always chaos. Classroom management was always an issue. Furthermore, as an advanced placement student in English, we had to complete all of our work online. However, we never had a stable classroom. The computer lab we were initially assigned to had about 20 computers, but only 11 of them worked. Bandwidth was always slow, and sometimes the internet wouldn't even work at all. Sometimes we were often forced to leave the lab on days when other students had to come in to complete other online assessments. Therefore, we were behind in much of our AP work, which took a toll on our grades. Also, going to public school in the Delta, we had to take a lot of culturally biased curriculum, and we lacked a lot of resources. I always found it amazing how a lot of the individuals who create our curriculum in the Mississippi Public School District, they were never students of the public school district, and their own children don't even go there. And so many of the conservators and other school board members would create these curriculums that we knew did not fit with our culture and our social environment. Sometimes a lot of times teachers were limited in what they could teach. We were restricted to being taught to the test. And with standardized tests, it's not about your intelligence level, it's about test taking skills. And we weren't taught test taking skills. We were just taught what question would be on the test. It was just a bunch of empty information. Our schools lacked textbooks. When I was in middle school, I remember having a biology book that belonged to my brother, and my brother's 6 years older than me. And thank you.
Thank you.